Commander Zixth sensed the usual hum as her vessel emerged from light speed. Her crew aboard the enormous Catharan warship began their typical survey work. This routine had been repeated countless times. Locate a star system, search for life, mark it for settlement if worthwhile, then continue onward. "Commander, we've reached System K-749, her navigator announced. Single yellow sun, several planets visible. Zixth settled back and watched the display screen ahead. A normal solar system appeared before her eyes. Nothing strange yet. The third world from the sun showed blue and green colors on their instruments. Excellent. Another planet ready for Catharan control. "Start the usual survey," she commanded. "Complete analysis of Planet 3. Look for basic civilizations." The scanner operator focused on his equipment. Moments later, his ear-like features pressed flat against his head in surprise. "Commander, something odd is showing up from that world." "Explain what you mean by odd," Zixth said sharply. "The surface has enormous geometric shapes, artificial buildings across entire continents. And Commander, I'm picking up energy readings, massive amounts." Zixth walked over to the scanner station. What appeared on the screen made her freeze. The planet wasn't some peaceful world ready for taking. It was a battle fortress. The entire surface was covered with structures that looked like weapon positions. Massive metal towers stretched toward the sky. The land itself seemed shaped for defense. "Give me a danger report," she ordered her weapons officer. His clawed fingers moved rapidly across the controls. His expression went pale as information flooded his screen. "Commander, I'm counting more than 50,000 active weapons aimed straight at us. The entire planet appears built for war." "That can't be right," Zixth said quietly. "No basic world could support that much military hardware." Her signals officer suddenly glanced up. "Commander, they're scanning us back. Multiple sources, highly advanced equipment." Down on Earth, thousands of miles beneath the alien ships, Commander Kate Murphy stood in Earth Defense Command's central hub. Red warning lights lit up every station as the alien presence registered on their deep space sensors. She had prepared for this her whole life. Every person on Earth had prepared for this. "Contact verified," announced Captain Jake Collins from Fighter Command. "Unknown craft at position 77 Alpha. Design suggests military intent." Commander Murphy moved to the main battle screen. The alien ships floated in space like dark shadows against the stars. After 800 years of getting ready, first contact had finally happened. "Engage Protocol 7, she commanded. "Everyone to combat positions. Send out the ready squadrons." Officer Lisa Hayes focused on her scanning gear. Her hands moved efficiently as she studied the alien craft. "Commander, I'm detecting huge energy outputs from their lead vessel. Estimated crew in the thousands. Technology looks advanced, but not beyond what we can handle." "How many ships in total?" Murphy asked. 17 large ships, command class by our guess. Several support vessels." Murphy nodded seriously. "The aliens brought a fleet. That meant they were either very bold or very foolish. Try making contact, all channels. Dr. Watson, I need you here immediately." Throughout the command hub, dozens of workers operated their stations. Earth's response was quick and organized. Warning messages went to every military base on the planet. Hidden weapons powered up from their secret locations. Space defense platforms that had waited silently for centuries suddenly activated. Dr. Amy Watson rushed into the command center, fixing her uniform. As Earth's top alien language expert, she had spent years preparing translation systems for exactly this moment. "Commander, our computers are ready to try understanding them if they attempt communication." "Good, Jake. What's our interceptor status?" Captain Collins looked up from his panel. "Squadron's launching right now, Commander. Time to reach battle formation 14 minutes. On the main screen, thousands of small dots began moving away from Earth. Each dot was a combat ship emerging from hidden spots throughout the solar system. The aliens expected to find a basic world with maybe a few hundred aircraft. Instead, they watched with rising alarm as Earth's response force kept growing. Commander Zixth stared at her battle display in shock. The number of enemy contacts continued climbing. "How many ships are they sending up?" she demanded. "Current total approaching 12,000 active contacts, Commander," her weapons officer reported. "And more keep launching." 12,000? Zixth's voice shook slightly. "That's more than our entire sector has." The signals officer looked up urgently. "Commander, they're trying to reach us." Multiple frequencies, very advanced coded signals. "Can we understand them?" "Our computers are working on it." First look suggests a complicated language built around military words. On Earth, Dr. Watson worked frantically at her translation station. The alien messages were unlike anything in their records, but the patterns were becoming clearer. "Commander, I'm establishing basic communication." They seemed to be trying standard diplomatic contact. "Put it on speakers," Murphy ordered. The alien voice that filled the command center sounded strange and musical, but the translation computers worked. "Unknown craft, this is Commander Zixth of the Catharan Empire. We come seeking peaceful contact with your people." Commander Murphy looked around the hub. Every officer waited for her answer. 800 years of preparation had led to this moment. She turned on the main broadcast system. "Catharan ship, this is Commander Kate Murphy, head of Earth Defense. You have entered protected military territory. State your purpose." There was a long silence before the alien answer returned. Even through the translation, confusion was clear in the alien commander's voice. "We seek diplomatic talks. We didn't know this system was claimed by a military force." "All human territory is military territory," Murphy replied simply. "We are Earth Defense Command. How do you want to move forward?" In deep space, Commander Zix turned to her crew. Every face showed the same expression of growing worry. They had come to record another basic world. Instead, they had found something that went against everything they understood about how civilizations grow. "Commander," her weapons officer reported quietly, "their interceptor force has reached perfect attack position. We're completely surrounded." Zix looked at the battle display again. 12,000 enemy ships in perfect arrangement around her 17 vessels. This wasn't how first contact was meant to work. The humans treat diplomacy like another form of battle. "Open a channel," she ordered. "We need to understand what we're facing." Commander Zix opened the communication line again. Her translator computers had been working for hours, but the human language patterns still puzzled them. Every word seemed connected to ideas of war, defense, and military action. Even their greetings sounded like combat orders. "Human Commander Murphy," she began carefully, "we request formal diplomatic talks. We wish to create peaceful relations between our peoples." The answer came immediately, but it wasn't from Commander Murphy. A new voice spoke through the system. "Catharan Commander, this is Officer Scott Davis, Earth Defense Historical Section. Commander Murphy has asked me to give you necessary background about our civilization." Zix looked at her signals officer with confusion. "Historical section? Why would they send a historian to talk with us?" Officer Davis kept speaking. "Commander, our scans show you expected to find a basic world. To understand why you're wrong, you must know our history. We have been at war for 808 years. 800 years? Zix repeated in shock. "That's not possible. No civilization can keep fighting that long without falling apart." "We haven't been fighting each other," Davis explained patiently. "We've been preparing to fight you." The silence on the Catharan Bridge was absolute. Every officer stared at the communication device. Finally, Zix found her voice. "Preparing to fight us. But we've never met your kind before." "Not your kind exactly," Davis replied. "But we knew someone like you would arrive. In our year 1579, a human scientist named Dr. Richard Stone figured out that hostile alien contact was certain to happen. His math showed that within 1,000 years, a space-traveling military power would find Earth and try to conquer it." Zix felt a chill run through her body. "And you believed this prediction?" "We did more than believe it. We prepared for it. Every single day for 800 years, we have been getting ready for this moment." On Earth, Officer Davis stood in the record storage deep beneath Defense Command headquarters. Around him, massive data storage held the complete military history of human civilization. He had spent his entire career studying how humanity had changed itself from a divided world into a unified war machine. "Tell me about this preparation," Commander Zix requested. Davis turned on a display that showed Earth's change over the centuries. In 1587, 8 years after Dr. Stone's prediction, every nation on Earth signed the Unity Defense Agreement. All human governments dissolved themselves to build a single military command structure. Every human citizen became a soldier in Earth Defense Force. The display showed cities being rebuilt, coastlines being strengthened, and mountains being carved into weapon positions. We realized that if hostile aliens found us, they would have technology we couldn't match. So we focused on what we could control: numbers, preparation, and perfect coordination. "Your entire species joined the military," Zix asked. "Every human alive serves in some way. We have no civilians. Our artists create propaganda and psychological warfare materials. Our scientists develop weapons and defensive systems. Our farmers grow food for the military. Our children begin combat training at age 5. Captain Maria Santos, Earth's chief diplomatic officer, joined the conversation. Commander, I am what humans call a diplomat. But my training included 15 years of combat operations, 10 years of strategic planning, and 5 years of psychological warfare techniques. Diplomacy is just another form of warfare. Zixth turned to her own crew. This is beyond anything we've seen, a whole species that has militarized itself completely. Her culture expert, a specialist in basic civilizations, spoke up. Commander, our records show that militarized societies always fall apart or turn on themselves. Internal fighting is certain when a species becomes too focused on military power. That would be true if we were preparing to fight each other, Officer Davis interrupted. But we were preparing to fight aliens. Outside threats create unity, not division. We've had no wars between humans for 800 years because we've been preparing for a war with you. The Catharan bridge crew exchanged worried looks. Their empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never seen anything like this. Most civilizations fought among themselves until the Empire arrived to force order. These humans had forced order on themselves. What is your population? Zixth asked. 15 billion humans, Captain Santos replied. 12 billion are active military workers. The remaining 3 billion are support staff, engineers, strategists, and command workers. All have military training. 12 billion active military. Zixth's voice was barely a whisper. That's larger than our entire empire's combined forces. Yes, Santos said simply. We noticed your 17 ships when you arrived. We've been tracking your approach for 3 days. Our defense network has been locked onto your vessels since you entered our outer sensor range. Officer Davis brought up another display. Commander, I want you to understand what you're looking at. This isn't just a militarized planet. This is a species that has evolved beyond normal civilization. We've become something new. The display showed Earth's industrial power. Every factory built weapons or military equipment. Every city was designed as a fortress. Every road could be turned into a military runway within hours. The planet's entire surface was one massive military base. We call it the siege mentality, Davis explained. When you know the enemy is coming but you don't know when, you prepare for everything. We've spent 8 centuries thinking about every possible alien attack situation. Every possible situation, Zix asked. We have battle plans for invasion fleets of every size from 10 ships to 10,000. We've prepared for ground assault, space bombardment, biological warfare, and technological invasion. We've trained for fighting in space, on planets, and in places we've never seen, Captain Santos added. We've also prepared for the chance that the aliens might be friendly, but our definition of friendly might be different from yours. We believe that any species capable of space travel must be militarily powerful. Therefore, any contact with aliens is basically military contact. Even diplomatic contact, Zix asked. Especially diplomatic contact. Diplomacy is how military powers avoid fighting when the price would be too high. We're willing to be diplomatic, Commander. But we want you to understand the terms. What terms? You're 17 ships facing a planet with 12 billion soldiers and 50,000 active weapons. You found us exactly as Dr. Stone said you would. Now we must decide together whether this ends in warfare or partnership. Commander Zix looked around her bridge. Her officers were pale and silent. They had come to record another basic world for easy conquest. Instead, they had found a species that had spent 8 centuries preparing exactly for their arrival. Officer Davis, she said slowly, what would you have done if we hadn't come? We would have kept preparing, Davis replied, and eventually, we would have come looking for you. Commander Zixth sent an urgent message to the Catharan Empire's main command. The answer came back within hours. High Commander Velar himself would review the matter. This had never happened before in the Empire's long history of conquest. The projection of High Commander Velar appeared on the bridge of Zixth's ship. His massive form and battle-scarred face showed the experience of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds personally. Behind him stood the Empire's ruling council, their faces serious as they heard the initial reports. Commander Zixth, Velar began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute command. Explain to me how 17 ships of our best fleet are being held back by a single basic world. High Commander, they aren't basic. Our first assessment was completely wrong. Zixth turned on her battle display, showing Earth's defensive positions. This planet has a standing military force of 12 billion active workers. Every single member of their species serves in their military. 12 billion? One of the council members interrupted. That's not possible. No species can maintain that level of militarization. They can and they have, Zixth replied. For over 800 years. High Commander, we need to understand what we're facing here. Velar studied the battle display with growing concern. The Catharan Empire had conquered 847 worlds, but they had never seen anything like this. Have you tried to contact their leadership? Yes, High Commander. But every contact goes through military channels. They have no civilian government, no separate diplomatic group. Everything is military. On Earth, Colonel Danny Brooks walked through the halls of the Deep Defense Records. These underground facilities stretched for miles beneath the planet's surface, holding every piece of military knowledge humanity had gathered over 8 centuries. As Earth's military contact person for alien relations, he had been chosen to share selected information with the Catharan Empire. High Commander Velar, Brooks said as he entered the communication room. I'm Colonel Danny Brooks, Earth Defense Force. I understand you wish to know more about our civilization. Velar studied the human officer through the communication link. Brooks looked normal enough, but something in his eyes suggested depths of military knowledge that made even the High Commander uncomfortable. Colonel, we've reviewed your historical records. You claim your entire species has been preparing for our arrival for 8 centuries. Not your arrival exactly, Brooks replied. We've been preparing for the arrival of any hostile space-traveling civilization. Our analysis suggested that such contact was certain, and you prepared by militarizing your entire world. We did much more than that. Brooks turned on a display that showed Earth's change over the centuries. High Commander, we didn't just become military. We became warfare itself. The display showed human cities, but they were unlike anything in the Catharan records. Every building served a military purpose. Every street could become a firing position. Every park held hidden weapons. The entire planet was designed as a single massive fortress. Our children begin tactical training at age 5, Brooks continued. By age 10, they can operate basic military equipment. By age 15, they've chosen their military specialty. By age 20, they're fully trained soldiers with years of combat practice experience. Combat practice? Velar asked. We've been fighting pretend wars against imaginary alien invaders for 800 years. Every human alive has taken part in thousands of battle situations. We've fought every type of enemy we could imagine. Major Rachel Clark joined the conversation from the strategic planning section. High Commander, we've studied your ship since your arrival. Your technology is advanced, but it follows patterns we expected. Your battle formations match several of our training situations. You've been practicing to fight us exactly. Velar's voice carried a note of disbelief. We've been practicing to fight everyone, Clark replied. We built battle plans for every possible alien meeting. Your technology level, ship designs, and battle approaches all fall within our prepared situations. Velar turned to his own tactical advisors. Is this possible? Can a species actually prepare for unknown enemies? His chief military analyst, a veteran of hundreds of planetary conquests, spoke carefully. High Commander, our information suggests they've achieved something never seen before. They've built a military civilization that has optimized itself for warfare without actually fighting wars. How is that possible? They fight each other constantly in training exercises. Their entire economy is built around military production. Their art, books, and entertainment all focus on military topics. They've built a culture where everyone thinks like a soldier. Captain Tony Miller, commander of Earth's 1st Contact Regiment, entered the communication room. High Commander, we've prepared a demonstration for you. With your permission, we'd like to show you something. What kind of demonstration? We'd like to show you how quickly we can activate our defenses. We've kept our forces at low readiness during our communications. If you agree, we'll show you our full defensive power. Velar looked at his advisors. Several shook their heads, but his curiosity was stronger than his caution. Very well. Proceed with your demonstration. On Earth, Commander Kate Murphy gave a single order to her crew. Turn on full defensive readiness. All systems active across the planet. The change was instant. Weapons that had been powered down came online. Hidden missile sites opened their covers. Space platforms that had been floating in standby mode turned on their engines and moved to combat positions. On the Catharan ships, warning sirens began blaring. Commander, the weapons officer shouted, I'm reading massive energy jumps from the planet. New contacts appearing everywhere. Commander Zixth looked at her display in horror. The number of active weapons had tripled in less than 10 minutes. How many weapons are they showing us now? Over 150,000 active systems, Commander, and more keep coming online. Captain Miller's voice came through the communication system. High Commander, what you're seeing is our standard defensive readiness. This isn't our maximum power. This is simply our normal response to a potential threat. Normal response. Velar's voice was strained. Yes, we maintain 3 levels of defensive readiness. You've just seen Level 1. Level 2 involves our mobile defense fleets. Level 3 involves our planetary attack systems. Planetary attack systems. High Commander, we figured that any alien invasion would involve space bombardment of our cities, so we built weapons capable of shooting back. Our planetary defense guns can hit targets at ranges of over 1 million kilometers. Velar looked at the battle display showing Earth's defensive capabilities. The planet wasn't just militarized. It was a weapon. The entire world had been turned into a single massive fortress designed to destroy any force that approached it. Colonel Brooks, he said slowly, what do you want from us? We want what we've always wanted, High Commander. We want to survive. For 800 years, we've prepared for this moment. Now that it has arrived, we must decide together what happens next. And if we decide to leave your system and never return, then we would prepare for the next visitors. But High Commander, we know about your empire now. We know you exist. We know your technology level and your military capabilities. We can't unknow these things. What are you saying? We're saying that contact has been made. The age of preparation is over. The age of action is about to begin. High Commander Velar made a decision that would change the history of both species. He decided to test the humans. If they were truly as militarily advanced as they claimed, then the Catharan Empire needed to know exactly what they were dealing with. Commander Zix, he ordered through the communication link. I'm sending Battlemaster Keith Nar with our best battle fleet to your location. We'll conduct training exercises with these humans. We need to understand their true capabilities. Battlemaster Keith Nar was the Empire's greatest military commander. He had never lost a battle in over 300 fights across 50 different worlds. His fleet represented the absolute best of Catharan military technology and tactics. If anyone could properly test the humans, it would be him. On Earth, Commander Kevin Wright received the news of the incoming Catharan battle fleet with calm satisfaction. As Earth's tactical command chief, he had been waiting his entire life for this moment. A real test against actual alien military forces. How many ships are they sending? He asked his information officer. First scans show 230 vessels, Commander, mix of heavy cruisers, destroyers, and support craft. They appear to be bringing their best equipment. Wright nodded and turned on the main battle display. Good. We'll finally get to see how our training compares to real combat. Alert all section commanders. This is what we've been preparing for. Officer Beth Turner stood in the command center of Earth's Rapid Response Fleet. Around her, thousands of human ships prepared for the practice battle that would shape the future relationship between the two species. Turner had commanded fleet operations for 15 years, but this would be her greatest challenge. Colonel Turner, Commander Wright's voice came through the communication system. Your fleet will meet the Catharan force in the outer system. Rules of engagement are practice mode. No live weapons, but full tactical deployment. Understood, Commander. How much of our capability should we reveal? Show them what we can do, Colonel. All of it, Turner smiled. For 800 years, humans had wondered how they would perform against real alien military forces. Now they would find out. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Prepare for full combat deployment. This is not a drill. Battlemaster Keith Nar's fleet dropped out of light speed at the edge of Earth's solar system 3 days later. His massive flagship, the Void Hammer, was covered with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. Around him, his fleet formed the perfect attack formation that had never failed him. Battlemaster, his weapons officer reported, we're detecting human fleet movements throughout the system. They appear to be responding to our arrival. How many ships? Current count is about 8,000 vessels. Battlemaster all appear to be military craft. Keithnar studied the battle display. 8,000 ships was a major force, but his own fleet had defeated larger numbers before. Begin the practice battle. Show me what these humans can do. The practice battle began with both fleets moving for position. Keithnar deployed his ships in the standard Catharan attack formation that had proven successful against every enemy they had ever faced. His heavy cruisers moved to the center while his destroyers flanked the enemy positions. But something was wrong. The human ships weren't responding the way enemies usually did. Instead of trying to match his formation, they were doing something completely different. Battlemaster, his weapons officer called out. The human fleet is breaking into smaller groups. They appear to be surrounding our formation. Not possible. No fleet can coordinate that many separate groups well. But as Keithnar watched, the human ships moved with perfect accuracy. 8,000 vessels operated as if they were controlled by a single mind. Every movement was coordinated. Every tactical decision was instantly shared with every other ship. Officer Turner watched the Catharan fleet formation with professional interest. The aliens were using classic military tactics: strong center, flanking forces, standard fight methods. It was exactly what her training had prepared her for. All group commanders she sent to her fleet. The enemy is using Formation Delta 7 from our training practices. Execute Counter-Formation Delta 7 Alpha. Across the human fleet, 8,000 ships moved into a complex three-dimensional formation that completely surrounded the Catharan force. The move was so perfectly done that it looked like a planned dance. Battlemaster Keithnar had never seen anything like it. How are they coordinating so many ships? His communications officer looked up from his equipment. Battlemaster, they appear to be using some form of shared tactical awareness. Every ship is responding to orders at the same time. That's not possible. No species can achieve that level of coordination. But the proof was right in front of him. The human fleet moved like a single creature. When one group of ships changed direction, every other group adjusted instantly to keep the formation. It was military coordination beyond anything in Catharan experience. Captain Nick Rodriguez commanded the Human Special Operations section that had been added to the fleet for this exercise. His ships were smaller and faster than the main battle fleet designed for precision strikes and unusual tactics. Colonel Turner, he reported, Special Ops section is in position. We've identified 17 critical weak points in the enemy formation. Proceed with demonstration attack. Captain Rodriguez's ships moved through the battle space like hunting animals. They avoided the main Catharan weapons and struck at support vessels and communication ships. Within minutes, they had effectively disabled the alien fleet's ability to coordinate their defense. Battlemaster Keithnar watched in growing amazement as his pretend fleet was carefully taken apart. The humans weren't just defeating him, they were teaching him lessons in military tactics that he had never imagined. Battlemaster, his weapons officer reported, our fleet unity is breaking down. They've stopped our command and control systems. How long has this fight been running? 14 minutes. Battlemaster, 14 minutes. Keithnar had never lost a battle in less than an hour. His fleet, which had conquered worlds, was being defeated by humans in 14 minutes. The practice ended with the complete tactical defeat of the Catharan force. Not a single human ship had been lost. The alien fleet had been outmaneuvered, outfought, and outthought at every level. Commander Wright's voice came through the communication system. Battlemaster Keithnar, we hope this exercise has been helpful. We're prepared to run additional practices if you wish to try different tactical approaches. Keithnar looked around his bridge. His experienced officers, veterans of hundreds of battles, sat in shocked silence. They had just witnessed military perfection in action. Commander Wright, he said slowly, we'd like to understand how you achieved this level of tactical coordination. Battlemaster, every human in our fleet has been training for this exact situation for their entire lives. We've fought this battle thousands of times in practice. We know every possible variation of your tactical approach. You've been practicing exactly to fight our formations. We've been practicing to fight every formation. Your tactics are efficient, Battlemaster, but they follow expected patterns. We've spent 8 centuries learning to recognize and counter every military pattern we could imagine. Captain Rodriguez added, Battlemaster, we've also been training for unusual warfare. Your fleet is designed to fight traditional space battles. We've been preparing for every type of combat situation possible. Keithnar realized that he wasn't just looking at a militarized species. He was looking at a species that had evolved beyond normal military thinking. These humans had become something new, something that had perfected the art of warfare itself. Commander Wright? He said, what happens now? Now we decide whether we're enemies or partners, Battlemaster. But either way, both of our species have learned something important today. What is that? You've learned that humans aren't the basic species you expected to find. And we've learned that our 800 years of preparation weren't wasted. The Catharan Empire Council met in emergency session for 3 days following the test battle. High Commander Valar stood before the projection showing the complete tactical breakdown of their best fleet's defeat. The numbers were clear. The humans had achieved a perfect victory in 14 minutes. The choice before us is simple, Valar announced to the council. We can try to conquer a species that has spent 800 years preparing exactly for our arrival. Or we can create a partnership with the most militarily advanced civilization we've ever met. Battlemaster Keithnar, still recovering from his tactical defeat, spoke from his position at the military advisory table. High Commander, I've fought in over 300 battles. I've never met an enemy that operates at this level of coordination. These humans don't just fight wars. They've become war itself. The council members looked at each other with concern. The Catharan Empire had built its power on military strength. The idea that another species might be better at warfare than they were challenged everything they believed about their place in the galaxy. What are you suggesting? Battlemaster asked Council Member Thexara. I suggest partnership, Keithnar replied without pause. Not because we fear them, but because we need them. The Empire has enemies throughout the galaxy. These humans could end conflicts that have lasted for decades. On Earth, Commander Kate Murphy had been promoted to head Allied Commander. The decision to form a partnership with the Catharan Empire had been agreed upon by all of Earth's military leadership. After 800 years of preparation, humanity was finally ready to take their war machine to the stars. Dr. Sam Wilson Murphy said to Earth's chief strategic planner, "Give me your view of the galaxy beyond our system." Wilson turned on the massive display in the new Space Command Center. The map showed Catharan space and the territories of their enemies. Commander, our analysis of Catharan military records shows ongoing conflicts with 17 different species. Some of these wars have been running for over 200 years. Stalemates. Exactly. Both sides are evenly matched, so the fighting continues without resolution. The Catharan have better technology, but their enemies have advantages in numbers or defensive positions. Murphy studied the galactic map with the eye of someone who had spent her entire life preparing for space warfare. These conflicts could be resolved quickly with proper tactical coordination. That's what we believe, Commander. The Catharan fight using traditional military thinking. Their enemies have adapted to counter that thinking, but none of them have ever faced human tactical methods. Commander Lisa Brown entered the command center wearing the new uniform of the Earth Space Force. As the commander chosen to lead humanity's first space military operation, she carried the hopes and preparations of 800 years on her shoulders. Commander Murphy, she reported, the first space fleet is ready for departure. 2,000 ships, full tactical support, and our best commanders. How many troops total? 5 million workers, Commander. All volunteers, all trained for alien combat situations. Murphy nodded with satisfaction. 5 million human soldiers, each one trained from childhood for this exact mission, would be enough to change the balance of power in any conflict. Commander Brown, your mission is to demonstrate human military strength in support of our new Catharan partners. Show the galaxy what 800 years of preparation can accomplish. The combined human Catharan fleet left from Earth's solar system 3 weeks later. It was the first time in human history that their ships had traveled beyond their home system. But the crews weren't nervous. They had been training for this mission their entire lives. Commander Zixth, now serving as the Catharan contact person to the human fleet, watched in amazement as the human ships kept perfect formation during the light-speed jump. Even during faster-than-light travel, the humans operated with the same accuracy they had shown during the test battle. Commander Brown, she said through the communication link, where are we heading for our first operation? The Vrex conflict, Brown replied. Your records show that you've been fighting the Vrex Federation for 147 years. Both sides are dug into defensive positions around the Kalar system. We're going to end that war. The Vrex Federation had been fighting the Catharan Empire longer than most civilizations had existed. Their defensive structures around the Kalar system were considered unbreakable. Generations of Vrex soldiers had been born, lived, and died in those strengthened positions. When the combined fleet arrived at Kalar, the Vrex commanders first thought it was another standard Catharan assault. They had stopped hundreds of such attacks over the decades. Their defensive methods were automatic, but this attack was different. The human ships moved in formations that made no sense according to traditional military thinking. Instead of trying to break through the Vrex defensive lines, they seemed to flow around them like water. Commander Brown stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the battle display with professional satisfaction. All group commanders execute siege-breaking formation Omega-7. The human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each one attacking a different point in the Vrex defensive network. But these weren't random attacks. Every strike was exactly coordinated to create maximum disruption with minimum effort. Within 6 hours, the Vrex defensive network that had held for nearly 150 years was falling apart. The human ships had found weaknesses that neither side had noticed during decades of fighting. They used these weaknesses with surgical accuracy. Vrex Command. Commander Brown sent on all channels. This is Commander Lisa Brown of the Earth Space Force. Your defensive positions have been stopped. We're prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict. The response came back filled with confusion and disbelief. Earth Force, this is Commander Klex of the Vrex Federation. How did you break our defenses so quickly? Commander Klex, we've been studying your conflict for several weeks. Your defensive strategy is excellent, but it was designed to counter Catharan attack patterns. We use different patterns. Different how? We attacked your weak points instead of your strong points. We disrupted your coordination instead of trying to overpower your weapons. We fought the way your defenses weren't designed to handle. The Vrex surrender came within 12 hours. A war that had lasted nearly 150 years ended in less than 1 day when human tactical thinking was applied to the problem. Battlemaster Keithnar reviewed the battle records with growing amazement. Commander Brown, your forces achieved victory numbers that should be mathematically impossible. Battlemaster, we've been preparing for every possible combat situation for 800 years. This wasn't an unusual fight for us. This was Tuesday. News of the Vrex victory spread throughout the galaxy. Within days, the Catharan Empire's other enemies began to worry about what this new partnership meant for their own conflicts. The humans had demonstrated something that changed everything. Dr. Wilson, watching Galactic communications from Earth, reported to Commander Murphy. Commander, we're picking up communications from 17 different species. They're all asking the same question, which is they want to know if Earth is interested in ending their wars, too. Murphy looked at the galactic map showing dozens of ongoing conflicts. After 800 years of preparation, humanity finally had the war they had been training for. Not just one war, but all of them. Dr. Wilson, write a response to all galactic powers. Tell them that Earth is now accepting requests for military consultation and conflict resolution services. What should we call ourselves, Commander? Murphy smiled as she looked at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. For 800 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. Now they were ready to bring their perfected art of warfare to the entire galaxy. Tell them we're the species that spent 800 years preparing for war. Tell them we're humanity, and the age of endless galactic conflicts is over. The galaxy would never be the same. Earth had awakened, and the universe was about to learn what 8 centuries of military evolution could accomplish.